The headlines. Government imposes 24 hours curfew on Kaduna Zaria metropolis. DSS arrests tailors suspected to be mass-producing Russian flags in Kano. Nigeria and Malaysia issue UK travel warning. And on the foreign scene, Mali cuts diplomatic ties with Ukraine over Wagner attack controversy. Hello, welcome to News Updates on Trust TV. I am Lilian Ogazi. Now to the news. The Kaduna State government has imposed a 24-hour curfew on Kaduna and Zaria metropolitan cities with immediate effect. The decision was taken after an emergency security council meeting presided by Governor Uba Sani to review the security situation in the state. According to a statement by the Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, the reason for the curfew is that the ongoing protest has been hijacked by criminal elements who have resorted to looting shops and destruction of private and public property in the state. The statement warned citizens to remain indoors while security forces continued to work to maintain safety and order. Before the curfew was imposed, protesters were seen around on the streets with Russian flags. Well, earlier we spoke to Trust TV's Abele Musa as he gives us an update. Take a look.
Well, the update is that the protest has been hijacked, obviously, by bad element, because today lootings were recorded and destruction of property by the protesters. That led to the decision of the Kaduna State Security Council to impose 24 hours curfew in Zaria and environs, and also Kaduna Metropolis, because, as I said in the morning, there was a lot of violence in different locations within the metropolis this morning, where there was the arrestation of protesters and there was looting and vandalizing public and private property within the metropolis here. So the situation in Kaduna is very tense. Maybe the curfew being imposed by the state government, maybe the situation will be under control.
So what about the organizers of the protests in Kaduna State? Any update from them?
There's no update because yet there's no any arrest or arrest of the protesters. As I said earlier, the protest is obviously hijacked by bad element, because what happens today, the protest started peacefully in the morning, but what happened along the line, the bad elements came in and started destroying of property and also looting people's property and also snatching of funds as well.
That's really sad. This development does not speak well of the protest. But security agents, have they said anything about the current situation and how they're handling this?
No, the only response from the security agencies maybe this curfew imposed by the state government, because prior to the impose of the curfew, there was a meeting of the security council. I guess so, because the story the release from the Commissioner of Internal Security, Samuel Arwan, said after the Security Council after studying the situation, the unfortunate incident that emanated today, they decided to impose the curfew in order to actually contain the violence in the metropolis and also in Zaria and environs.
Still on the protest, hoodlums who disguise to be protesting the hashtag End Bad Governance have engaged in vandalizing of public properties in parts of Zaria metropolis. The youth who converged at Kofa-Doka vandalized the barricade of ongoing overhead bridge under construction and carted away with all the zincs and woods. The hoodlums also vandalized the APC office at the Kofa-Doka Zaria, smashing glasses and snatching furniture. Similarly, the hoodlums at Dogarowa attempted to set ablaze the Sabongari local government secretariat that is undergoing modernization, but were later dispersed with tear gas by the police after vandalizing some equipment and facilities at the secretariat. At Damagaji Zaria, the youth intended to burn down the police station but were resisted by the reinforced team of security. Unconfirmed reports indicated that one person is feared shot, with others injured as a result of intensive tear gas.
Soja don't come. Army don't come. Napes. Army don't come. Yeah, see them. Soja don't come. They run. Atiaga in the street.
Giving us an update on this, we had a chat earlier with our reporter in Zaria, Abubakar Siddiq.
Yes, following the convergence of the youth this morning, they had earlier converged at about, which is the center heart of Chikunwada here in Zaria, and they started the protest in a very peaceful manner. But later on, it's like the criminal element has disguised itself and they halted into the protesters, thereby embarking on vandalization. They started with vandalizing the barricade fence around the undergoing constructed bridge at Kofa-Doka there, and snatching the zincs and the woods and all this. Then they later proceeded to the APC secretariat, which is just close by, just 3 meters from the runabout, and smash all the glasses, broke into the office, and steal the furniture there. Well, it was even with the help of the protesters that actually the vandalization could not occur in the individual shops, because some elements decided to break some shops because it's a commercial nerve center. But some of the protesters, especially the leaders, actually prevented the element from breaking into individual shops. And later on, we learned that at the Sabongari local government secretariat, the hoodlums also went there trying to set the secretariat ablaze. But with the intervention of the security, that would not happen. They succeeded in smashing the glasses, breaking the windows and doors, panels, and also stealing some items and equipment in the secretariat. Where the whole incident was trying to become bloody was at the Damagaji police station, where the protesters decided to override the police and went into the police station, I think with the intention of setting it ablaze. And the police quickly looked for reinforcement of both the army and the police, and that was where shooting took place. The police had to resort into shooting on the air instead of firing a tear gas that they've been using, because the protesters were able to resist the tear gas. Once the tear gas was thrown to them, they'll pick it up before it's blown up and turn it back to the police. So they resort into shooting on in the air. And on report has it that 2 people were feared dead during the incident, but we have not yet confirmed that.
All right.
Yes.
So currently, what's the situation of things like there in Zaria? Has it calmed down? Are people out and about their normal business, or it's still a bit tensed? Now, we learned there's a curfew, so has the curfew been adhered to?
Yeah, it has been very effective because the main road is now started. Okay. That is where the protesters were marching on. But within the ghetto areas, people are still moving from one line to another. But all the main roads have been started. You can only see the security personnel moving up and down. So the curfew is taking effect as of now.
Now moving over to Jos, despite the curfew being imposed in Jos North and Jos South local government areas of Plateau State, miscreants around Bauchi Road on Monday attempted to break into shops and warehouses in part of the area, allegedly to loot goods and properties. Trust TV's correspondent reports that hundreds of hoodlums were seen heading to Yankwali Market to break shops, but were prevented by the police and other security personnel. The protests in the state had been peaceful until Sunday, when a group issued a warning to business owners, threatening them not to open their establishments. As of the time of this report, the city appeared deserted as business premises remains closed. Earlier, we spoke to our correspondent in Jos, Ado Musa, to give us an update.
Well, indeed, the curfew has been imposed since yesterday, and even though everywhere is calm at the moment, but then again, some hours before this time, we had reports of some hoodlums who attempted to break some houses to loot their properties. We also have some reports of hoodlums from other places who also made attempt to break into shops, especially at the Yankwali market, to loot their properties. But with the help of security agencies who had to make a kind of further deployment of personnel, everything has been contained at the moment. So everywhere is peaceful, and the security agencies were able to contain the situation.
Still on the protest, Day 5, some protesters in Zamfara were on Monday spotted waving Russian flags in Gusau, the state capital. The demonstrators, who regrouped on Monday, decried the security challenges that have bedeviled the northwestern states. They lamented that the government has not taken concrete steps to address the issues, vowing to continue the protest until the government does the needful. According to the protesters, bandits had imposed heavy taxes on them to pay to avoid attacks and to access their farmlands, a development which they want the government to take necessary measures to protect the people against the bandits' activities. Mostly comprising children and youth, the aggrieved residents marched across Gusau, notably Tunuwada, Freedom Square, Government House to Gadabu, among other areas. Meanwhile, security agencies, mostly operatives of the Nigerian police and the military, are monitoring the protesters closely to ensure peace and order. And now in Katsina, fresh protests erupted in the state on Monday, where some of the young protesters were seen waving Russian flags. Now, our reporter in the state, Abdullah Yamadi, is joining us via phone call to give an update on the situation. Hello, Yamadi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, most sincerely.
Okay, so we're seeing that fresh protest has erupted. Can you tell us more on that?
Well, at the moment, one person is reported killed by some security operatives, and 6 others sustained gunshot wounds. Most of them have been rushed to Katsina General Hospital. 2 out of the 6 that were wounded have been treated and discharged by the hospital authorities, and 3 are still they have been admitted at the hospital and are receiving medical care. And of course, like I said earlier, this whole process started peacefully. In fact, with special prayers against bad governance at various strategic locations across Katsina Asian city. Of course, the special prayers were held at ATC, that is Arabic Teachers College playground, Canada playground, and of course, William Samji in Katsina Metropolis. The whole issue went out of hand around 4:30 when the protesters approached security barricade, trying to break the barricade to proceed to Katsina State Government House. The security operatives started firing tear gas and, of course, later used live ammunition against the protesters. That was what happened exactly when the protesters, most of them sustained injuries. So at the moment, the security operatives were able to contain the situation. They have dispersed the protesters, and some of the protesters who spoke to Trust TV vowed to continue with the exercise Tuesday morning, saying they are regrouping and mobilizing their members to proceed with the protest against hunger, against injustice, and of course against bad governance. They also vowed to continue with the special prayers before proceeding to march across the Asian city Tuesday morning. So this is exactly what is happening at the moment.
All right, so at the moment, what's the ambience of things there in Katsina? Have people calmed down? Has it settled down? Are people back in their homes right now?
Well, at some areas where the protest did not hold, because the protesters marched through some major streets in the Asian city. For instance, they marched through IDB Way, Kofaratari, Yahya Madakwe, and of course, Ahmadu Bello Way.
Okay.
Places like this, people are still in their homes, indoors, and of course, they're afraid of the unknown. But in other places, people are going about their normal businesses and talking about the whole issue. And don't forget that this curfew from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
All right.
Metropolis.
All right. Thank you very much, Abdul Yamadi, for that update. Definitely we'll get more information on you as the protest continues and then also as the day goes by. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Now moving on, the Department of State Service, DSS, says it has arrested some tailors suspected to be mass-producing Russian flags in Kano State. In a statement on Monday, the DSS said some of the sponsors have also been apprehended. The move came in the wake of some End Bad Governance protesters carrying Russian flags in several northern states. A video of some tailors making the flags have also made the rounds on social media. On Sunday, August 4th, President Tinubu had a nationwide broadcast in which he cautioned protesters against being used to advance an agenda that could potentially undermine democratic progress. This is news updates coming to you from Trust TV. Coming up, 7 family members hospitalized in Benue after consuming pap. This and more when we return to stay. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is news updates coming to you from Trust TV. Let's take a look at our headline stories again. Government imposes a 24-hour curfew on Kaduna and Zaria metropolis. DSS arrests tailors suspected to be mass-producing Russian flags in Kano. Now moving on, the Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa says the flying of foreign flags within Nigerian sovereign space is an act of treason which will be treated as so by the Nigerian Armed Forces. General Musa spoke on Monday at State House Abuja after a meeting of the National Security Council presided over by President Bola Tinubu. He said the Nigerian military had stepped in to control the protests as it had become clear that they had descended into violence and looting with hints of international interference.
Today's meeting is such that we wanted to come and update Mr. President about the situation on ground. We know since the riots have started, the role all the security agencies are playing. You can see all of us together. We had about 2 hours meeting with Mr. President. We explained to him in details the current situation on ground since the riots have started. And what we realized is that, yes, initially people said it was a peaceful riot, but we have warned against it because we realized that there are individuals that are willing to take advantage of it to cause mayhem, and we can see clearly what has happened since it has commenced. Criminals have taken over, a lot of looting, a lot of stealing and all sorts happening. And besides that, we're also aware that I'm seeing, all of us have seen it, where some foreign flags have been flown within the sovereignty of Nigeria, and that is totally unacceptable. We are warning in clear terms, and the president has also said we should convey this, that we will not accept anybody, any individual flying any foreign flag in Nigeria. That is treasonable offense, and it will be viewed and treated as such.
Meanwhile, the Russian embassy in Nigeria has denied any involvement with a group of protesters in northern Nigeria who were seen carrying Russian flags. Protesters, mostly in the northern states, were seen marching in the streets carrying Russian flags and chanting slogans, while others held placards with various messages. Russia, a global power with significant geopolitical influence, has been accused of involvement in recent political upheavals in southwestern African countries, including Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. This has sparked concerns about external interference in regional affairs. The embassy in a statement emphasized that Russia does not interfere in the internal affairs of other countries, including Nigeria, adding that the protesters' actions do not reflect any official Russian government's policy or position. The statement said while Russia supports peaceful demonstrations, it condemns any violent or disruptive behavior. Now, away from the protest, 7 family members who reportedly consumed fermented maize pudding, popularly known as akamu or pap, in Egba community of Agatu local government area of Benue State, have been hospitalized. A widow, identified as Amina Isa, alongside her 4 children and 2 grandchildren, were victims of the alleged food poisoning. It was gathered that the widow and her family members were vomiting after taking pap and were immediately rushed to a private clinic in the area. Reports say the victims were in coma before they were taken to the hospital for treatment. The incident further confirmed by the proprietor of the clinic, Dr. Oyaji Sule. Sule said 3 of the patients, including the widow, were brought into the clinic unconscious. He said that the family unknowingly used the remnants of guinea corn that had already been mixed with chemical for planting to make the pap. Following a weekend of unrest, Nigeria and Malaysia have become the first countries to issue a UK travel warning to their nationals. A warning was issued by the Nigerian Interior Ministry on Monday morning, citing an increased risk of violence and disorder occasioned by the recent riots in the UK. A statement released by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Abuja on Monday, signed by Eche Abuobe, said the violence has assumed dangerous proportions, as evidenced by reported attacks on law enforcement agents and damage to infrastructure. To this end, citizens are advised to be extra vigilant and take measures such as avoiding political processions and protests, rallies or marches, avoid crowded areas and large gatherings, and being vigilant and self-aware at all times. Malaysia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs published an alert on Sunday advising Malaysians living in or visiting the UK to stay away from protest areas and remain vigilant. Many countries around the world, including the US, Germany, and Denmark, issued travel advice to their citizens following riots in England in 2011. Now away from Nigeria, Mali has announced it is severing diplomatic ties with Ukraine, accusing a senior official of having admitted Kyiv's role in a heavy defeat in July that killed dozens of mercenaries from Russia's Wagner group as well as Malian soldiers. The North Tuareg rebels says they killed at least 84 mercenaries and 47 Malian soldiers over 3 days of fighting late last month in the north of the West African country in what appeared to be Wagner's heaviest defeat since it stepped into the conflict 2 years ago. On July 29th, Audrey Yusuf, the spokesperson for Ukraine's military intelligence, told the public broadcaster Soplin that the Malian rebels had received all the information they needed, which allowed them to carry out their operation against Russian war criminals. Mali said it had learned with deep shock of the remarks, adding that Yusuf had admitted Ukraine's involvement in what it called a cowardly, treacherous and barbaric attack by armed terrorist groups that resulted in the death of members of the Malian defense and security forces. Well, with that, we've come to the end of news updates here on Trust TV. Do also follow us across all our social media platforms for more news, programs and documentaries. Thanks for watching. My name is Lilian Ogazios.